Hello, I'm Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for October 26th to November 1st of 2014. And on October 26th, we have the sun. We can see it here denoted by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Scorpio, and then also in the 28th hexagram, which we can see all the way out inside of the wheel here. That we have the chop mark that is numbered from bottom to top. And this one, the 28th hexagram, goes yin, yang, 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 yin. And the 28th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here we have the 28th gate of the game player, preponderance of the great, the transitoriness of power and influence. It's located in the splenic center in an individual energy path in the knowing circuit called the channel of struggle, a design of stubbornness that connects with the 38th gate of the fire, opposition, the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And on October 26th, we have the following activations. We have the sun is in the 28th gate. The Earth is in the 27th gate. The North Node is in the 57. The South Node in the 51. We have Mercury is also in the 57th gate, and it's newly directed to turn direct on the 25th. We have Venus also in the 28th with the Sun, and then Mars is in the 10. Jupiter is in the 4. Saturn is in the 43. Uranus retrograde is in the 21, Neptune retrograde is in the 55, and Pluto is in the 38. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be really helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com and click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and then just enter in your birth information. So the neutrino forecast is basically a weather report. No matter what the weather is, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we have two channel definitions due to the transit field. We have Mars in the 10th gate, and Mercury and the North Node in the 57th gate. So this is the channel of the perfected form, and it's going to be with us until October 31st. This is a design for survival where behavioral becomes art. The defined splenic center brings intuition and well-being, and Ross warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. The influence of as a transit maybe that folks may need to perfect their form, however they define that, whether it's their bodies, their work, their homes, their art, whatever form means to them. And this brings a love for art that's created simply for the enjoyment of the artist. Folks may find that they have more of an ability to think on their feet under this influence. As individual circuitry, this definition brings melancholy or blue feelings that are best used in channeling into some type of creative activity. And then we have Venus and the Sun in the 28th gate, with Pluto in the 38th gate, which brings us to channel of struggle, which is going to affect us until October 30th. And this brings experiences where people struggle against overwhelming odds. It's through this archetypal hero's journey of fighting for our purpose that empowers others to stubbornly fight for what holds meaning for them. This is about empowerment that comes through being who we're meant to be instead of following the conditioning of our families, schools, religions, and governments. And both these channels are individual, which means that they're said to be deaf, that they don't hear the other and become distracted from their authentic path. Now, like we said before, folks with the undefined splenic center may let go of something that is good for them. This one also is defining the root center. So for folks who do not have a defined root, they might feel more pressure during a transit that defines the root, such as this. And of course, we did mention melancholy earlier, being individual circuitry. So we're going to be looking at the sun's ravaging line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Programs, the lines of the day, when talking about these shifts to line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. And taking advantage of it might just be simply watching it in your environment, and being aware of how it's affecting other people. So if your strategy and authority doesn't lead you towards using it in any way, that's fine. But it's always, to me, what I do with it is I like to watch people and see, are they, acting out more of the inward perspective of a first or second, third line, or are they more social in a fourth line or a fifth line or a sixth line type of thing like that. So anyway, October 26th. We start the day with the sun. It's in the first line. It's in the investigative line of the 28th hexagram, and the sun is detrimented in the 28-1 due to Venus also being in the 28th hexagram, and it's described as preparation, detrimented the aesthetic appreciation of planning that may have no real application, an intuition for detail without the potential for application. And so the sun or anything in the first, second, third lines, these are about personal processes. So people are more inward looking, absorbed in their own process. The themes of the first line day are fear or anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it might be a day to study or look into things that you don't know, or research something. If you feel that there's some little anxiety that says, wow, I need to know more about that. Later on the 26th, the sun moves from the investigative line into the hermit line, the second line of the 28th hexagram. The shift happens at 6:40 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the times I'm going to give you are Eastern Daylight Time, so you want to convert those to your local time zone. The sun exalted in the 28-2 is described as shaking hands with the devil, distasteful alliances. Exalted, a means, however unsavory, that is justified by its end. When the game turns to struggle, the intuitive acceptance of any alliance in order to win. And second line days, people are waiting for something. They're waiting to be called. People are stuck in their own experience. So it might not be a great day to have a big social event because people would rather stay home in their hermitages. And then on the 27th, the sun moves into the third line, up into the Martyr line. We just have to go with that. 27. All right, into the Martyr line of the 28th hexagram. The shift happening at 5:14 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 28-3 is adventurism, unfounded risk-taking, exalted, a basic conservatism that even in adventurous acts is necessarily prudent, an intuitive caution in risk-taking in times of struggle. Detrimented, here a perverse manifestation of expansiveness where risk-taking is rationalized and failure ensued. The intuitive rationalization of risk-taking in times of struggle. Third line days, be careful on the road. Be careful of things bumping into you. We're talking about the Martyr, bonds made and broken, trial and error process, system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. So we might have bonds made and broken on a third line day. Things might bump into you on a third line day. It's a material plane kind of a day, so it might be good for business, but you got to be careful because things could go wrong. But what goes wrong is there to lead us to discovery. And then on the 28th, The sun moves into the fourth line, up into the opportunist line of the 28th hexagram. The shift happening at 3:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it is described as holding on. The ability through whatever means to keep one's grip. Exalted, the application of knowledge to exploit opportunities, and usually for the greater good. A depth of intuition at its best in struggle, and often of value to others. Detrimented, the application of intelligence to hold on, exclusively out of self-interest. A depth of intuition that is stubbornly selfish in its capacity to hold on. And fourth line days, we're shifting from the lower trigram to the upper trigram. We're shifting from the personal process to the transpersonal process. We're shifting from an inward perspective to looking outward, with the fourth line themes of friendship, companionship, networking. Great day for social interaction. People are more open to networking, to being social, being friendly on the fourth line, under the fourth line energy. And then on the 29th, the sun moves into the fifth line, into the heretic line of the 28th hexagram, and the shift happening at 2:18 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 28th is exalted because of Pluto in the 38th gate, but it's naturally detrimented because the sun it detriments the 28th. So when you look at this in a just now chart, exaltations are an upward pointing triangle, detriments are a downward pointing triangle. So on the 29th, when the sun is in the 28th, what you're going to see is something that looks like a six-pointed star, indicating that it's both detrimented and exalted. And this is described as treachery, the abuse of trust. Exalted, the manipulation of the collective, that while putting one faction against another, does not directly support or reject either. The intuitive capacity of the game player to provoke struggle amongst others. Detrimented, the breaking of alliances with trusted forces to align with more powerful forces, and its attendant destabilization of the whole. The intuitive recognition in times of struggle to know when alliances must be broken, and its destabilizing effect on others. Fifth line days, the heretical energy is a day of suspicion, but also universalization, where something can spread like a virus, whether it be like a YouTube video or a Facebook post, something like that. So it's also about suspicion and paranoia. But the paranoia, this quality comes from projection. Fifth line projection is positive followed by negative. The positive projection is they'd be great at it, they could do it, they'd be the perfect person for that. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, for whatever reason they don't meet that expectation, that's when they get punished. As I've said before, it is not you're not dealing with any type of paranoia if they are actually out to get you. Anyway, sorry, I took a little circuitous route there. Anyway, and then also on the 29th, Venus moves from the 28th hexagram. Certainly the sun remains there, but we have Venus moving into the 44. And in human design, Venus is very powerful yet deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It's about morality, natural law in which we deal with the other, and the consequences of the world around us, and what disturbs you on a moral level. And Ra talked about your design and personality. Venus tell us about the moral dilemma that you're going to deal with in your life. And if you don't act with moral clarity, that Venus can be unkind in its retribution. Venus is in the 44th gate. Let's find a good 44th gate that's going to stay there. Sorry about that. Okay. Venus in the 44th gate. So this is the gate of alertness, coming to meet. The success of any interaction is based on the absence of any preconditions. Venus is detrimented in the first line of the 44. So Venus in the 44-1 is conditions, the establishment of framework as a result of interaction. Detrimented, an attractive nature that will interact with inferior forces and will fail to apply restrictions, resulting in the risk of continued harmony. The failure of the instinct out of the need for harmony. And then the 30th. The sun moves into the 6th line. So up here, again, 6th line, this is the 28th hexagram. This shift happens at 12:49 a.m., so just 49 minutes after midnight Eastern Daylight Time. And the sun in the 28th/6 is also exalted due to Pluto being in the 38th hexagram. This is blaze of glory, the sacrifice rather than the capitalization of the law of deterioration. Exalted, regeneration and renewal no matter what the price. A deep intuitive drive to win no matter what the cost. 6-line days are days when Rod talked about don't get stuck with your head in the clouds, because you'll have something end up running into your kneecaps or your shins. We're up here on the roof of the hexagram. Typically, if you're sitting on the roof of the house, you're not tending to look at the roof of the house so much unless you're shingling it or something. You look at things that are around the house. What else is going on in the neighborhood? What's next? And so this can bring certain dangers of not seeing something coming in your immediate environment, whether it's a bill or a car or something like that, because there tends to be a lack of focus on what's happening right around us. And then later on the 30th, the sun moves out of the 28th hexagram and joins Venus in the 44, and with that, the Earth moves out of the 27th hexagram to the 24. And so we'll start with the Earth in the 24th hexagram. This is the gate of rationalizing, returning the natural and spontaneous process of transformation and renewal. And this shift happens at 11:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and with the sun in the 44th gate of alertness coming to meet. The success of any interaction is based on the absence of preconditions. The sun's detrimented due to Venus also being in the 44. This is the sun in the first line of the 44, and detrimented by Venus's conditions, the establishment of framework as a result of interaction, detrimented an attractive nature that will interact with inferior forces and will fail to apply restrictions, resulting resulting in the risk of continued harmony. The failure of the instinct out of the need for harmony. And so again, we're finding ourselves at starting a new hexagram, first line, second line, third line, inward perspective. People are more absorbed in their process. And again, first line is about fear or anxiety that needs to be investigated when anything is in the line of the investigator. And then that leads us to the 31st. And at this point, the sun moves into the second line of the 44. And this shift happens at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the sun is in the 44-2 is described as management, exalted, the development and management of a proper collective structure which restricts inferior elements by creating cooperative modes that integrates these forces with progressive and superior forces. The possibility that alertness to patterns will result in management capability. Detriment, a tendency in management to concentrate exclusively on goals, ignoring inferior elements, which leads inevitably to qualitative success and qualitative failure. Uh, and instinctive memory for patterns that bypasses the development of management capability. Second lines, again, people are waiting for something, they're waiting to be called. So people are really stuck in their own trip. So you may not want to, plan some large social event during that second line energy. Also on the 31st, Mars moves from the 10th. So, and it moves into the 58. All right, so Mars in the 58. And it's direct, so it's the first line of the 58. The first line of 58 is love of life, exalted. The very stimulation of the world is a basis of an aesthetic appreciation of its beauty and wonder. Alone or shared with others, this is a profound inner realization. This profound inner realization is a key for a joyous harmony with the process of being. The energy which fuels the love of life, detrimented. The moon has its phases, its moods that will limit joy and intermittent cyclical experience, a cyclical energy which intermittently fuels the love of life. And Ross spoke about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy source that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype, and by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Marses from immaturity to wisdom. And then this brings us to November 1st, and where the sun is now moving into the third line of the 44, the shift happening at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 44-3 is interference, the failure to interact based on circumstances, exalted the ability to recognize the threat of interference and to prepare for its effect. The alertness and instinct to handle the ego of others, detrimented a diluted response to interference that gets stuck in projection, and as a result is unrealistic in appraisal and error prone. The possibility that instinct cannot handle the egos of others. And again, third line days, bonds made and broken, trial and error process, system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. It's a day to exercise some caution. And also on the first, Mercury leaves the North Node in the 57, and it moves into the 32. And Mercury is the messenger of the gods. This is about communication, expansion of human consciousness through communication. And Ross talked about it not being just as words, but also as music. And what do we communicate in this life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. So what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 32? Survival on the material plane, or the fear that there may not be enough resources for the tribe. This is the gate of continuity, duration. The only thing that endures is change. And Mercury in the 32-1 is conservation, exalted a life-sustaining respect and attention to all aspects of a process. The potential to develop the instinct through detailed attention to the process, detrimented the uncontrollable urge to bypass essentials, which inevitably leads to the disruption of continuity, the fear of lack of potential, and the corresponding lack of attention. So we're looking at the sun. It's continuing to move through the 32, the 50, the 28, and now the 44. Those are the gates that are associated with the Minerva God's Head, which was covered in the offering from October 12th. So next week we're going to be moving into a new quarter. We'll be moving into the quarter of mutation and a new God's Head of Hades. So that's things we'll be talking about in the next report. So no matter what energies are conditioning you during the week, just remember this experience is about being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage. Just remember you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for November 2nd of 2014. It should be available on the 1st, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, and YouTube. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I'm going to be discussing the transits of November 2014 and providing some short human design readings for the participants of the Earth Needs Rebel show on Truth Frequency Radio, and it's truthfrequencyradio.com. On Tuesday, November 4th, the show begins at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I come on at 1:30. The show goes to about 3. It's a great opportunity. If you go to truthfrequencyradio.com, click on the Earth Needs Rebels tab, go into the chat space. You can message with Katie if you have questions, or you want to send her your information for a reading, or you can personal messenger if you want to be a little more discreet. Or you can even personal messenger with your phone number. They will call you for free anywhere on the planet if you want to come onto the show live and interact actually over the telephone. I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. If you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. Some folks have asked me questions about my readings. And I like to describe the readings I give like being a playwright or a screenwriter. I use human design as my character description. I use my human design part of the reading to talk about who the person is in their movie or their play. And then I use astrology to talk about what are the scenes that person is going through, what are the adventures that character is having. And then as far as what are the lines in the script for that person, that's their strategy and authority. And so that's kind of how I put those systems together to give what I feel is a very holistic approach to talking about who people are and the experiences that they're having and how they can best navigate those experiences. As always, I'm very blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. And please, feel free to contact me if you have questions. If you want to get a reading, or certainly we are always welcoming donations to keep this New World Birth afloat and acting to help other people. So thanks everybody, peace, and catch you next time.